Hi there, my name is Matt Jackson, creator of Quote Companion. I'm going to talk to you today about whether or not Nick is a reliable narrator. I'll cover all the major arguments for and against, and some quotes to support each of them. We're going to be looking at whether he's honest, whether he's self-aware, whether he's well positioned in the book to narrate, if he's good at reading people, and is he the voice of Fitzgerald? Is he just a narrative device, or is he a real character with his own biases and desires? So we're going to cover all that in this video. Okay, start out nice and simple with is he honest or not, and the only quote you ever need to know about this is I am one of the few honest people I have ever known. If you're looking for something to prove he's honest, there it is, straight away. But the counter to that is, at the end of the book, when he's talking to Gatsby's father, he says he helped build up the country. And that's true, I said uncomfortably. So he knows he didn't help build up the country. Gatsby's dad thinks he is some kind of pioneer that's helped America grow as a nation, when really he was a criminal. So he's lying to him, so he's not one of the only honest people he is. The importance of this is, he says he's honest towards the start of the book, and by the end of the book, after he's spent all this time in the East, he's now lying. So has he been corrupted by the East? Is he now as bad as all the other people? And if so, can you trust any of the narrative, because he's written it after he's been in the East, so he's already turned into this corrupted person while he's writing the book. So the next pro-Nick statement we're going to be looking at is he's very self-aware as a character. He tells you, I'm honest, I'm very tolerant, but he also tells you his tolerance is a point. So he's not just trying to impress you and saying how good he is, he also tells you his limits, and that gives his statements a lot more credibility. So he also tells you this embarrassing secret about his family. They have this tradition that they're descended from this war hero. Actually, that's not true. The founder of his line sent a substitute to the war. Now, because he tells you the good and the bad, it shows he's committed to telling the story honestly. He's not looking at making himself look good. He's not interested in making his family look good. He's only interested in telling you the truth, even when that's embarrassing to himself. So that again makes him more credible as a narrator. The obvious counter to this claim is he's quite a biased character, not in the same way as Tom, who's quite racist and he's very elitist. Nick says there's no difference between a man so big as between the sick and the well, but that's between men, and between men and women there is some kind of gap. He just seems to be quite sexist. He says dishonesty in a woman is something you can never blame deeply. So there's a suggestion there that women are different from men, they're not equal, and they should be treated as such. The other bias he has is towards Gatsby. So he can judge everyone else, he doesn't mind criticizing them, but he won't criticize Gatsby because he's friends with them. And so his narration on Gatsby is untrustworthy. The next thing I want to talk about is Nick's positioning in the book. So he just happens to have these links to all the other characters. Daisy's his second cousin, he knew Tom in college, he happens to live next door to Gatsby. It's all very coincidental, it's obviously been set up by Fitzgerald, so he's in the perfect place to narrate his novel. So Fitzgerald has intended Nick to be the narrator, and that you can trust him to be the narrator. That's what he's there to do. He says he's within and without, so although he can see everyone's life, he doesn't really affect it, which is another good thing for his narrator. He doesn't change things, he just watches, and he's inclined to reserve all judgment. So when Tom says something racist or Daisy has an affair, he doesn't criticize them, he doesn't say anything, he doesn't start any arguments, he just lets them do it and watches them. And because of that, you get to see these characters act how they would if he wasn't there, and that makes him a very good narrator. The counter to this, of course, is that he's out of touch. He doesn't earn much money, he's a lot poorer than the rest of the characters, and so, especially Tom, who's very elitist, he's very keen to see the rich get richer and beat down the other people. He doesn't like people with new money, he doesn't like poor people. So you wonder, will he let someone like Nick into his life? Will he display how he really is there, or will it be just a pretense? It says they're part of a secret society. Now Nick obviously isn't part of that, and what is he missing because he's not part of the secret society? What can't he see? What goes on behind these closed doors? Another positive is he seems very good at reading people. So when Daisy says something on a clear artificial note, now he can see straight through that. He realizes that she's lying. So other people are fooled by Daisy's charms. He sees through it and he realizes when she's lying, when she's being false. Also there perhaps he had a surer way of finding out, so he guesses that Wilson had a that Tom told Wilson Gatsby's name, and that's what caused his death, and it turns out to be proven right later on in the book. So Fitzgerald is telling you that he's good at judging people, he's good at reading situations, and therefore you can trust him as a narrator. But he's not so good at reading all the characters, and Gatsby especially is a problem for him. So he says, for all I knew, he was going to rob the house. He has no idea what Gatsby's motives are. He can't get to grips with his character. He could do anything next. He just doesn't understand him as a character. He's also very much under his spell, so Gatsby spins this magical story, and he's so fascinated by it that he doesn't care to poke holes in it. He doesn't judge it with the same critical eye that he would judge other stories. He says, my incredulity was submerged. So normally he would say, oh, you're lying, San Francisco is obviously not in the Midwest, because it's not. But he's just so fascinated by the lie that he just lets Gatsby go on with it. And because of this, he doesn't really understand Gatsby very well, and he can't really narrate Gatsby very well. And finally, the suggestion that he's just a narrative device. So some people argue that he isn't really a character at all. He doesn't have any kind of desires or biases. He doesn't have any of his own agendas. He is purely there to narrate the story, and because of that you can trust him completely, because his only purpose is to narrate. So he forgets his own birthday. Now, nobody would do that, no real person would do that, and that could be seen as a hint that Fitzgerald's giving you that he's not a real person. He's not a fully fledged character. He's just a device that he's using to speak and talk in the book. And when someone drops a notebook on the train, so the notebook is obviously a symbol for the book itself, he holds it by the extreme tip of the corners to indicate he had no designs upon it. So he's telling you that it's a metaphor for writing this book. He's not touching anything, he's not changing anything in the book, he's telling you exactly how it is. He's not a real character, he doesn't have his own, he's not giving it his own slant, it's exactly how it is, and he's not made any changes, and therefore you can trust him as a narrator. And of course the counter to that is, well, no, he's not a narrative device, he's just another character, and some quotes to prove that would be, angry, half in love with her, and ridiculously sorry, tremendously sorry. So that's a lot of emotions in one sentence. They've got three really strong emotions there, and that could be Fitzgerald giving you a clue that, you know, this is a real character, he has real feelings, and therefore he'll also have his own biases, and he'll have his own desires and agendas. Also me and Gatsby against them all, so he is a real character, he's a real person with real friendship with Gatsby. He's not just a shell of a character, and therefore he's subject to all the weaknesses that everyone else is, and maybe his narration isn't quite as impeccable as we want it to be. So if you're writing an essay about Nick as a narrator, you might want to check out our example essays. Basically what they are is a fully written introduction that you can see here, and I'll give you advice as to what point to make in each paragraph, what quotes to use to back that point up, and then what to mention in your analysis. So you've got a really well-researched and well-structured essay in the fraction of the time it would take you to write it normally, because I've given you all the information and you just need to join up the dots. Here's the introduction and first paragraph from the Is Nick an Unreliable Narrator example essay. There's also one that Is Nick a Reliable Narrator, so there's pros with the positive and negative slant available. You can see in the introduction that the essay is going to cover arguments like Nick is too biased and impressionable to narrate the story well, as well as having a tendency to leave out large parts of the story. And to do this, we'll be analysing Fitzgerald's use of form, setting, and various other characterization techniques throughout the course of the essay. The first paragraph is all about refuting Nick's claims of honesty and tolerance by proving he's sexist, basically. To get the entire example essay, just click the link in the description to go to our homepage, then find the example essay page where you can buy our example essay for $5 or complete one of the special offers, which is normally just submitting an email or completing a form, and you can get it absolutely free. It's a great tool, and I hope you have a lot of fun using it.